Hi, and welcome to the Get Ready to Improve Your Self-Image webinar. I'm really excited to share this webinar with you. If we haven't met before, my name is Nancy Picard, and I'm a Master Integrative Life Coach. And I love supporting people who are motivated to improve their self-image. And I'm also motivated to help you remove negative and limiting beliefs and behaviors from your life so that you can start to experience a more confident version of you. And if you have any questions during our time together, please feel free to email me directly at nancy@nancypicardlifecoach.com. So here are my 3 promises for this webinar. 1, you will leave this webinar with tools to create more self-love for yourself. 2, you will generate more self-confidence and courage to live a bigger version of your life as a result of this webinar. And 3, I will answer 100% of any questions that you email to me. The following resources were used to assemble this class for you. And you can take a snapshot or a screenshot of this, or wait until the replay comes out, and then you can stop it at your own and copy it at will. So whether we realize it or not, how we view ourselves defines so many aspects of our lives and daily interactions. At any given situation presents us with an opportunity to manifest whatever beliefs about ourselves we hold. So it's really important to start at the very beginning when seeking to address and improve our self-image. Becoming aware of how you define your self-worth is the first step to improving it. So placing your focus on cultivating this awareness before moving forward is a good place to start. Some questions you might consider to become aware of your current state of self-worth. 1, what are your current beliefs surrounding self-worth? 2, why do you believe that? And 3, who would you be if you didn't believe that about yourself? One way that many people fall into cycles of negative self-worth is by maintaining limiting beliefs. These beliefs can be regarding anything, your job, your family, your relationships, etc. And the more you assert them, the more they become your reality. A simplified example of this would be always taking the same route to work simply because you've never tried a different way. And what happens then when you're forced to take a detour and realize that there has been another quicker, easier route the whole time? It changes the way you view the whole commute, and it challenges the limiting belief that was held in place, the one that kept you spending too much time on your daily travel. Breaking out of these beliefs can be an unsettling experience, and many people choose not to do that work in order to avoid this discomfort. Can you think of an example when a partner or a friend would not listen to advice that you knew in your heart would help them, but they were so stuck in the belief of their way that they couldn't or wouldn't even consider changing? Our lives are ruled by disempowering beliefs that we formed as children, usually under the age of 10. As human beings, we are meaning-making machines. We make meaning out of everything that happens to us and around us. And as children, we aren't emotionally equipped to understand much of what is happening, and we form beliefs that become buried in our subconscious, yet they rule our lives. For example, as a 6-year-old, we could stand up in class and read and misread some words, and everyone laughs. We make it mean we're stupid or not good enough or unworthy or will never fit in. It happens in a split second, and we aren't aware we did it. But that belief defines how we view ourselves. It is a lens that we look out of, and interpret everything that happens to us. We attract people and situations into our life to prove our limiting beliefs are true. I help clients every day dispel those old disempowering beliefs and replace them with new empowering beliefs that will support them in achieving the life they dream of having. These beliefs are referred to as shadow beliefs because they lie dormant in the shadows of our psyche. This is a quote from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. This is one of my all-time favorite quotes for encouraging a more positive self-image. A huge element of having poor self-image is the belief that we are not good enough. But good enough for what exactly? By belittling our achievements, shrugging off compliments, or resisting things that we know make us feel good, we remove ourselves farther and farther away from our authenticity. We shrink the part of us that is trying to be heard, seen, and felt, and turn it into a minuscule version of what it could be if it were given the right amount of energy. This results in damaged self-image, poor self-worth, and negative thought patterns which do nothing but keep us stuck there. So things to ask yourself when you feel this happening. Who are you not to shine? What is good enough? How do you define your understanding of good enough? And who are you trying to impress? To maximize the benefits of this work, I'd love it if you would take pen to paper and take some time to answer these questions honestly. You can share some of what you find with a friend or email to me if you choose. There is another one of the major questions to ask yourself when you feel yourself starting to compare your life to others. Comparison is the thief of joy, is another quote I like to remember in times like this. And it simply serves to remind us that we have no one to impress but ourselves. What others think of us is none of our business. We already have our own inner critic to listen to. Why listen to what others think? They are seeing us through the lens of their disempowering beliefs and judgments. Leave them to their own beliefs and you work on your own. So what is success to you? What would it take for you to feel like you are successful in life? And then why have you formed that belief? Whether it's financial, emotional, circumstantial, relationship-wise, the society we live in has conditioned us to form beliefs surrounding these areas of our life. And it can be so difficult to break out of these cycles and realize that our beliefs are not the only way to perceive them. Everyone defines success differently. And something which really helps us improve our self-image is by quietly defining what that is for us and aiming for that instead of trying to impress, serve, or emulate anyone else's definition. What we feed our minds shapes our perceptions, and our perceptions shape our reality. That's a quote from Arvind Katak. Self-image is formed through repeated thoughts, cycles, and behaviors. By allowing past experiences, both good and bad, to be a part of our current reality, we are in effect still living in the past. The more we cling to these experiences or labels and definitions of ourselves, the more we reinforce them. The thoughts we feed ourselves are the ones that grow, right? What we think about, we get more of. Meaning, where you put your attention is what the universe brings you. If you see only the negative in your life, one thing is for sure, you will get more negative. We must understand our current beliefs first before we can hope to change them. If you're not sure, then I really encourage you to dig a little deeper. What has caused your poor self-image? When was the first time you remember thinking negative thoughts towards yourself? How can you avoid such situations in the future? And again, you can email me and I'll be happy to discuss it with you at a later date. So in order to get to the bottom of any self-image issues, or even just deepen your understanding of them, it's important to lay out and clarify your core beliefs. So what are core beliefs? Core beliefs are things that we know to be true for ourselves, things that are irrelevant to anyone else, things that make us feel aligned and filled with purpose, contentment, and fulfillment. These can be simple things, as simple as, I know that I like to work out, or I know that I like to drink coffee before I go to work. Or they can get a little deeper and include vocational beliefs too. I have an innate desire to travel and meet people. I believe my purpose is to teach and share knowledge. I thrive on communicating with others and creating connections. Core beliefs can be single words or concepts, or they can be larger ideas that involve others and assert your place in the world. Take a look at the list in the next slide for some examples of core beliefs. This is a list of my core beliefs. It's not an all-inclusive list, but it's a good representation of what I hold true for me. Take some time with this exercise at a later date. It's a really great reminder of what we hold dear to ourselves. We want to attract people into our lives that share many of our core beliefs. Neuroscientists study the responses, reactions, and neural tendencies of our brains, and it's very clear from what they see that repeated actions and repeated thoughts result in our brain developing new neural pathways. This means that our thoughts literally have the power to change the way our brain works. In terms of self-image, the more we tell ourselves something and reaffirm it, the more rooted in our mind it becomes. This is why negative beliefs about ourselves become so damaging. What might start as a vague comment or skewed perception becomes strengthened the more and more we think about it. The more energy you give a thought, the more it builds and strengthens. Our thoughts are just like muscles. The most difficult part of all of this is not realizing your habits and behavioral patterns. It's breaking out of them. Taking that first step and shifting the thought pattern from the damaging one towards a more fulfilling and strengthening direction is where the biggest challenge lies. What repeated actions or thoughts do you currently allow yourself? And are they helping or hindering your self-image? The astronomical benefits of using proper nutrition to combat mental health issues have only recently come to the forefront of our awareness. It has been proven time and time again that by improving the quality of the food we eat and the way we move our bodies, we can change our relationship with ourselves and ultimately improve our overall self-image. Nutritional neuroscience is an emerging discipline that studies the relationship between diet and cognitive activity, as well as imbalances within this sphere. It's these imbalances that can result in mental disorders and illnesses. And so by examining the foods we put into our body, we can properly observe the cognitive benefits and issues that they bring with them. Figuring out what works for you is also essential. So for example, a vegan diet might suit your particular physical makeup and allow you to function to your highest potential. But for someone else, it definitely won't. So some of the best advice I've ever received in this respect is that learning to try different things and continue following what works for you is the only way to properly figure out how to improve your life, happiness, and self-image. Trust me, it works. So what works for you? And how can you start to encourage more of that in your life? Ever heard the saying, how can you love someone else if you don't love yourself? And then have you laughed it off and scoffed at it? Well, most people have. Sometimes it's the hardest thing to do to look at our own flaws and come to terms with how they are hindering our progress and happiness in life. Too often, the personal and self-image issues get projected onto a loved one and end up causing toxic relationships to form. Many relationships rely on the flaws of one or the other person being unable or unwilling to face their own self-esteem issues, resulting in them using their partner, friend, or lover as a crutch to lean on and support. Our partners are mirrors to show us what we don't see. If you don't love yourself, you will only be able to attract someone who feeds that belief. It becomes an unfair imbalance of energy that wouldn't be necessary had the imbalanced party taken the time to focus on their own self-image issues, where they came from, and how to combat them. It's all quite a deep-rooted process that comes down to you being aware and willing to do the work to improve your awareness and self-image. Negative relationships are cultivated through negative behaviors, thought patterns, and cycles, and can often prove the most difficult and painful aspect of a self-image overhaul. Here's more about how self-image can affect relationships and how to fight this. Meditation is truly an amazing tool for anyone seeking to improve their self-esteem and overall happiness. I can't stress enough how helpful it can be for those who struggle with the eager to please and million thoughts a minute mentality that our fast-paced culture has cultivated. And for those who struggle with mental health and anxiety issues, it can be life-changing. Meditation helps us to gain clarity in our own mind. We become more aware of how our minds work, more aware of what makes us feel good, what makes the thoughts race, and what slows them down. Simply put, it's a great way to get to know you that little bit better. By knowing yourself and clearly seeing what you want, you can then begin to implement steps towards manifesting it. Even just being a little bit more open to experiencing and listening to yourself gives us a sense of strengthening and improving our self-image, while meditation cultivates this open mind. For anyone still a little skeptical, I encourage you to just try it. It's difficult at first to sit quietly, and it takes a bit of getting used to. But I guarantee the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become with that. There are literally thousands of free guided meditations on YouTube to help you get started. But one you can start with is by Jason Stephenson. It's a great place to start. So a quote from Wayne Dyer: "When you judge another, you do not define them, you define yourself." One fascinating aspect of the social science behind self-image is the fact that when we communicate with others, as I mentioned earlier, we mirror our own insecurities in how we treat them. For instance, if the first automatic thought and judgment you have on meeting someone is, "Boy, she's too loud," then chances are this judgment is something that you are actually holding against yourself. You wish you could be as loud and confident as this person. And the fact that you're not is obvious in your judgment of them. Judgments are ways of shifting our attention away from our own flaws and making the issue about anything and anyone else. Again, this realization can be uncomfortable to admit and tackle, so people have a habit of simply ignoring it. But even just by watching this webinar, you're taking an amazing step towards this. Reflecting beliefs onto the people in our lives is an unfortunate way that a poor or unrealistic self-image can have a negative impact on us. The more we become aware and the more we look at our relationships, the more we can understand what works and what doesn't. When you get upset or triggered by something your partner is doing, it's a perfect time to stop and ask yourself, what is the quality of someone who is doing what he or she is doing? And once you recognize what the quality is, there's a good chance you don't see that quality in yourself. You project the quality onto your partner to show you what you don't see in yourself. For example, if I'm triggered or upset by how lazy my partner is, I need to look at where I'm lazy because I don't see myself as lazy. But once I do the work around it and I can recognize that I too am lazy, even if it doesn't look the same way or it doesn't show up as often, I can then look for the gift of that quality so I can own it. So for me, being lazy means that I don't have to overuse my body or I can relax. It means something different for different people. So to reintegrate it I reintegrate that as one of my qualities. And it doesn't mean I want to be lazy all the time. It just means I won't get upset when I see it in my partner because I can now recognize it in me. This is a bigger conversation than I can do in this webinar, but projection, which is what it's called, is an important conversation to continue. So what's one thing you judge in someone else that you're close to that's actually about yourself? As we've already discussed, realizing your negative and unhelpful thought patterns is just the first step. To actually break the cycle and help yourself to get back to a mindset that's healthy, happy, and true to yourself, you must take action. And this can come in many forms, and depending on the individual's experiences, will differ for everyone. The main thing to be aware of here is that it doesn't have to be a massive shift. Small changes in the right places can make just as big of a difference in the long term as huge ones in the moment. After first identifying your limiting beliefs, how then do you go about changing them? Therapies such as CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, are focused around this area of shifting thought patterns from the negative habits towards more positive and beneficial ones. Journaling is a great way to do it, so you can notice or you can see where you've got intense periods of self-doubt and negative self-help, negative self-image, and then you can start to look at that so it becomes more real and it becomes easier to combat. So how do you plan on breaking the cycle? By being more mindful, we are automatically shifting from a state of living in the past to living in the now. 95% of our anxiety stems from things that have either already happened or that may or may not happen in the future. And by learning to accept the present moment and live in the now, it becomes easier to accept ourselves and our flaws as they exist today. This is key for anyone struggling to overcome a low self-image, and so the techniques for mindfulness can be extremely transformative for them. According to www.dosomething.org, approximately 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies and resort to dieting to achieve their ideal shape. Unfortunately, only 5% of women naturally possess the body type often portrayed by Western media. Up to 58% of college-age girls feel pressured to be a certain weight. All of this dissatisfaction with body shapes and anxiety surrounding how to achieve the perfect figure results in all-time lows in self-image. Women perceive themselves outside of what is considered to be beautiful, as they're being presented with unrealistic images and unattainable weights. This shifts the focus of their attention away from improving health and self-image and instead promotes an unhealthy idea for them to strive for. To help you get in touch with your body and to start to define your relationship with it a little clearer, I'd love if you could make a list of 10 things about yourself and your body that you love and appreciate. It doesn't have to be physical, although try to do at least 3 or 4 physical features. In this personal experience, take the time to consider the reasons why you've listed the areas you have, and open your mind to exploring the roots of these beliefs a little further. Apart from disturbance whose roots are biological, I cannot think of a single psychological problem, from anxiety and depression, to underachievement or school at work, to fear of intimacy, happiness, or success, to alcohol or drug abuse, to spouse battering or child molestation, to codependency and sexual disorders, to passivity and chronic aimlessness, to suicide and crimes of violence, that is not traceable, at least in part, to the problem of deficient self-esteem. Of all the judgments we pass in life, none is as important as the one we pass on ourselves. This quote is a study from Nathaniel Branden about the origins and effect of low self-esteem issues in modern society. The more you know and understand about your self-esteem and self-image, the more you can do to improve yours. Another highly effective practice, which can have huge positive effects on low self-esteem, is yoga. The benefits of this ancient practice are endless, and although it's recently come to the forefront of our culture as a fitness best way to take care of our bodies, the underlying effects of a regular yoga practice ultimately stem far deeper than looks. New practitioners often report a boost in mood, self-awareness, and self-esteem, all within a few weeks of regular practice. And the combination of both mental and physical benefit means that the mind and body are given a chance to align in a way that no other physical activity allows. Feeling happy within our skin is an unexpected benefit of the yoga practice that those who suffer from low levels of self-esteem could benefit from. There are so many different styles, teachers, and classes to choose from, both online and in your community. So I encourage you to seek these out and just be open to try it. Whew. So I know I've shared a lot of information with you, and there are probably one of two emotions surfacing: excitement and overwhelm. Both are great emotions. Your excitement will drive you, and your overwhelm will force you to take this process of improving your self-image very seriously. By cultivating mindful awareness of ourselves and the world around us, we can begin to look a little bit more at ease with our bodies and gradually begin to improve our self-image. It's not an easy road, but with persistence and repeated action, I promise you, it is possible to change the way you view yourself. So how are you feeling? And what's the number one takeaway for you? I'd love if you would email me that. I want to thank you for taking the time to experience my class. I love sharing this topic with people who are eager to transform their self-image and become even more empowered. If you feel like you need more support on this journey, I'm more than happy to help. This conversation about strengthening your self-image and self-love is one of the paradigms of my coaching. One-on-one coaching is the best way to make permanent change. So give yourself that gift. And as a special offer from this webinar, I am offering 2 coaching sessions for the price of 1. And then there's also the free discovery call before those 2. So you'll be getting 3 sessions for the price of 1. When you email me with the name of this webinar, I will honor the offer. Here is all my contact information. And I leave you with one last quote and my gratitude for being here and making time to watch this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the last quote is, make yourself a priority once in a while. It's not selfish, it's necessary. And that was Freud.